Donald Trump just fired Dr. Carla Hayden, the first black woman to ever serve as Librarian of Congress. And let's be clear, this wasn't about job performance. This was about power, fear, and control. See, Dr. Hayden is a career public servant who spent her life preserving knowledge, protecting access to books, and modernizing the Library of Congress for the people. She wasn't just a librarian. She was a guardian of American memory. And now she's gone, fired by email, not by the president himself, but by some low-level political flunky sent to do the dirty work. Why? Because Trump doesn't want independent thinkers or defenders of history. He wants loyalty. He wants obedience. He wants silence. This is the second person this week Trump has fired after they testified to Congress. Let that sink in. He's punishing people for doing their job, for being transparent, accountable, and truthful. That's not leadership. That's psychological warfare on democracy. He's telling every federal employee, if you speak up, you're next. But it goes deeper than that.
Hello, wonderful people. Welcome once again to my YouTube channel. If you are new and it's your first time to this channel, feel free to subscribe and tag along. On our episode today, we'll be focusing on FAFO moment. While Donald Trump illegally fired Dr. Carla Hayden, who had an actual library science degree from the University of Chicago. She was the first ever African American to head the Library of Congress. She was also the first woman to head the seat. Barack Obama was the one who appointed her, and Dr. Carla was supposed to head the Library of Congress for 10 years. Before her, there are 14 recent heads who were all white men. Many Americans, both white and black, are not happy with this move. Let's watch the following videos to the end to get a full picture of everything.
Carla Hayden's mere presence was power. A black woman appointed by Obama who dared to make knowledge accessible and inclusive. MAGA couldn't stand it. So right-wing extremists labeled her woke, accused her of pushing books they didn't like, and Trump responded not with facts, but with force. That's how dictators move. They erase what they can't control. And here's the sickest part. This is part of a pattern. He's trying to ban books, rewrite history, and replace qualified professionals with political puppets. He's turning government into a loyalty contest. If you're not willing to kiss the ring, you're fired. No debate, no process, just gone. This isn't just about Dr. Hayden. This is about every institution we depend on being gutted from the inside. Libraries, schools, FEMA, justice, all of it one by one. Because if Trump can destroy the truth, he can control the narrative. And if he controls the narrative, he controls you. But here's what they don't count on. Us. People who still believe the truth in books, in facts, in dignity. People who see through the manipulation. People who ain't afraid to call it what it is. A slow, deliberate assassination on democracy. Led by a man who fears knowledge more than he fears war. So don't be quiet. Tell them Carla Hayden is not the enemy. She's the example. Because when the people who protect truth get silenced, it's up to the rest of us to get louder.
I'm not playing with y'all. Dr. Carla Hayden was illegally fired from the Library of Congress in her 10-year term. Doctor, qualified, overqualified. An actual librarian, the first woman and the first African-American woman. I'm a songwriter. I copyright my music and it's in the Library of Congress. I don't think y'all understand how serious this is. The Library of Congress did a resistance. They would not allow Trump's goons and illegal people to just walk up in there after that illegal firing. They said, no, we waiting on Congress to decide what it is, what's up. And then they called the Capitol Police because they was not playing. Our voices and what we write and our stories are important. My travel guide will help you prep just in case, to be prepared. I like my people to be safe and ready.
If you love to read, if you have kids or no kids who love to read, or honestly, if you just care about equality, which should be all of us, you should be extremely concerned about what's happening right now. Last night in an email, Dr. Carla Hayden was fired as Librarian of Congress. Dr. Hayden is the first black woman to be in this role. She's the first woman to be in this role. She's the first black person to be in this role. The email began, Carla, which, excuse me, I'm sorry, Dr. Hayden is a professor with a PhD from the University of Chicago. Do you know how hard it is to get into the University of Chicago, much less earn a PhD from that school? Therefore, she will be addressed as Dr. Hayden. So they fired her, basically effective immediately, and the Trump administration is moving on the Library of Congress like they have the Kennedy Center and several other places in a way that is extremely concerning. Now, does the Trump administration have the legal right to fire Dr. Hayden from the Library of Congress? That's a question that still seems to be up in the air. But as of right now, Dr. Hayden is no longer Librarian of Congress. She was supposed to retire next year at the end of her 10-year term. It's a term that's appointed. There is no chance of renewal. So she was just going to finish out her time, and then there would have been a chance to put in a new Librarian of Congress. And instead of having a really lovely retirement year and doing the incredible work that she's been doing, instead she's leaving today. There's a really amazing write-up in Ron Charles's book club newsletter. If you don't subscribe to this, it's for the Washington Post. It's a free newsletter, and I get it every Friday and love learning about book news. Ron has a really personal note about Dr. Hayden's work and who she is as a person in there. It's just really incredible. You should sign up for it. I have a podcast about banned books, and I did an event with Ron Charles and Maureen Corrigan and my co-host Christine Renee Miller last fall. And one of the things that we talked about is how deeply concerned we are about not just book banning, but the ways that this Trump administration is coming after libraries. It's coming after publishers. It's coming after librarians. Again, libraries are not places of indoctrination. They are a place where books are available to everyone. Free libraries are an incredibly important hallmark of our democracy. One of the things I say in my podcast all the time, it's called The Beautiful and Banned, is that libraries are the honeybees of a functioning democracy, right? So if the honeybees go, then that has massive environmental concerns. When we're talking about firing the Librarian of Congress, a Black woman named Dr. Carla Hayden, we need to be very concerned.
He fired the Librarian of Congress. Carla Hayden, she was the first African American appointed to the position. She was the first woman appointed to the position. And she was the first professional librarian to ever be Librarian of Congress. And that peckerhead fired her. She was appointed by Obama, and she survived Trump's first term, but not this one, I guess. And it just... This one hits home, I think, for librarians across this country. This is a tough one to swallow. Is this just who we are now? When we don't agree with someone, we just eliminate them instead of working together to do good things, to solve problems, to do what's right. We just eliminate them. Or that's what he does anyway. On behalf of the librarians of America, we are unwell. We are angry, and we are tired, and we are unwell, because this is a travesty. There's no other way around it. This is just wrong.
I don't want to hear anybody say a Black person is unqualified ever again, because a person with zero library experience was just appointed to the largest library in the world as Congress's head librarian, replacing the first woman with a library sciences degree to ever hold the position. Remember how people said forced diversity was a bad thing? Including Black people would make us lower our standards. What's lower than putting a guy with no archival experience over our history, research, and records? The former head Congress librarian started a program to bring underrepresented voices into the collection so we wouldn't lose them. Because once something gets erased, it's significantly easier to claim it never happened in the first place. Support your libraries the same way you support that spicy enemies to lovers with hockey players, or I promise you will not like the next chapter.
He could have just gone to the Library of Congress to find out what the Library of Congress does. That's the purpose of the Library of Congress. It's a research library for Congress, and it says it right on the building. Like, it's literally on the side of the building. He probably could have just driven by in his motorcade, read those giant letters on the side of the building to see Library of Congress, and figured out what it does with a simple Google search. But instead, he chose to fire the Librarian of Congress because he believes, truly, in the year of our Lord, 2025, the President of our United States believes that the Librarian of Congress has added children's books to her collection that he doesn't believe should be in the collection. And then she's letting children in the doors to check those books out of the Library of Congress. This is legitimately what's happening here today. And now our Librarian of Congress is fired. I have nothing else to say, so I'm going to say nothing more.
I told y'all I hate the position of the press secretary of the White House. I hate it because the only thing you need to be successful is to just make sure you know the information that the president and the administration wants you to say. Like, you don't need to have a thorough analysis, a wide range of knowledge of anything. You just need to be able to memorize the responses and the information that the president and the administration want to give to the American people. Like, it doesn't matter if you answer a question correctly or not. It is just the agenda of the president of the United States. You just got to be willing to look crazy. That's really the only thing that you need to be able to do. Memorize information and look crazy because you have to answer the question how the president and the administration wants you to, not how you would answer the question. With that being said, when when Press Secretary Carla Leavitt answered about firing the woman who was the head of the Library of Congress, she said that they didn't agree with her position and her efforts around DEI and children, and books that were inappropriate that they felt for children. Excuse me? You think she's personally picking certain books to put in the Library of Congress that you find inappropriate for children? The amount of books that are in the Library of Congress from all sorts of backgrounds, subject matters, and all, like, what are you talking about? And it's so crazy because you can't even say, like, Caroline Leavitt is like she's dumb because somebody from the administration might have just told her to say that. No matter who holds that position, this is not me focusing on Caroline. The position is stupid. I get why it exists. The president can't be everywhere at every moment. So you need somebody at the White House who when news reporters want their questions answered, you have somebody in Washington who can answer the question while the president is out doing what he needs to do, or she needs to do if we ever get a woman president. So I get why the job exists, but this is just a prime example of why this job is so stupid.
So tonight, I do want to talk to you about Miss Carla Hayden. Now, who is Carla Hayden? She happens to be the first African-American woman to hold the position of librarian in Congress. She was let go. So it was very unexpected. Her term was not supposed to end until next year, but the Trump administration let her go. Now, a lot of individuals are saying because it's due to the DEI cuts. The Trump administration says, we just let her go. It's also something that we don't condone. It's inappropriate. It's not something we condone. And so it's not something that we want in our library. So we have to let her go early. What do you think? What really happened to Ms. Hayden?
A reporter asked Caroline Leavitt at the press conference on Friday why the librarian for the Library of Congress was fired. She said that the librarian was supporting DEI initiatives and also putting inappropriate books on the shelves for children. One of many issues with this statement is that the Library of Congress receives a copy of every book published in the United States of America, both digital and print. It's how copyright is established. It is a research library. It's not a library where little kids go to check out books. Of course, Ms. Leavitt would not elaborate. When we start banning books at the Library of Congress, we're not just censoring stories. We're erasing history, silencing voices, and threatening democracy itself. Every single day since this administration took over, we are getting closer and closer to a future where the truth is controlled and freedom is just a memory.
Well, this has never happened before. Trump just fired the Librarian of Congress, someone who's supposed to be in that position for life. Carla Hayden was the first woman, the first Black person, and the first actual librarian to ever lead the Library of Congress. I mean, she was the first professionally trained librarian to be appointed Librarian of Congress in over 40 years, and the only one with a PhD in library science. She was appointed in 2016 and made it her mission to include books by marginalized voices. That apparently didn't sit well with Trump. Caroline Leavitt, his press secretary, literally said she was removed because of inappropriate books. We all know what that means. 14 white men held that office before her. No one fired them. She made history, and he just tried to erase it.
Donald Trump's firing of Dr. Carla Hayden is a complete and total outrage. Dr. Hayden has more decency, more dignity, and more intellectual depth than the entire so-called Trump cabinet combined. So let me make one thing clear. None of this is ever going to be forgotten. Not today, not tomorrow, not next week, not next month, not next year. These extremists will be held accountable for the assault on the American way of life.
Have you ever heard of Carla Hayden? I'm guessing you haven't. I hadn't until recently. Carla Hayden's the Librarian of Congress. Now, you probably heard of the Library of Congress. Maybe you didn't think there was a Librarian of Congress, but it makes sense, right? Libraries have librarians. Well, she was the Librarian of Congress. Why do I say was? She was fired yesterday by the Trump administration. How was she fired? Get this. By email. This is what it said. Carla, on behalf of President Donald J. Trump, I am writing to inform you that your position as the Librarian of Congress is terminated effective immediately. Thank you for your service. That's how she was fired. Carla Hayden had been in place for 9 years. She was nominated in 2016 by President Barack Obama and was confirmed by the Senate, and her term was due to end in 2026. Now, it wasn't always that way. Here's the amazing thing. You know how many librarians of Congress there have been in the nation's history? The Library of Congress was established in 1800. 1800. So in 225 years, there have only been 14. Now, there was a time when they served longer terms. I think the longest was over 40 years. But Congress passed legislation that limited their terms to 10 years. So hers was due to end next year. But she was fired. Now, why was she fired? Well, there are a lot of people that didn't necessarily like her. In fact, they said that, here it is, Hayden, whose 10-year term was set to expire next year, had come under backlash from a conservative advocacy group that had vowed to root out those standing in the way of Trump's agenda. The group, America Accountability Foundation, accused her and other library leaders of promoting children's books with radical content and literary material. And this is a quote here. It says, the current Librarian of Congress, Carla Hayden, is woke, anti-Trump, and promotes transing kids. One of the spokespeople from the AAF said, it's time to get her out and hire a new guy for the job. Oh, by the way, Carla Hayden's a woman. And I said that there were only 14 librarians of Congress since 1802. It was established in 1800. I guess it opened in 1802. They've all been men. She was the first woman to ever be the Librarian of Congress and the first African American. Tell me you're shocked.
Keenly watching the videos, you see how Americans are angry at Donald Trump. Well, this was just not right. Women empowerment should be in the front line in Trump's regime. Why fire a strong black dedicated lady? The excuse you have just so of her getting fired doesn't even make sense at all. Is this racism from the above, or is Trump trying to kill African American regime on his administration? Let me know your thoughts on this, and don't forget to like, subscribe and share. Thank you, family. Bye.